Now I'm going to demonstrate all the AI generative art in this video using Microsoft Image Creator. It's free and it's simple. You also can create as many images as you like, but the same principles that I'm sharing in this video will apply in any AI app that makes images. Chatbots also make images now, and there's many AI apps available. But Microsoft Designer is a great one to get started in. So type in Microsoft Image Creator and then look for it. If you've never used it before, you'll need to sign in to Microsoft, create an account, but it won't cost any money. Once you've signed into it, then you'll be able to create images. And you can see here some of the images that other people have made. But if I'm trying to create something, all I do is I type a prompt into this box. I can choose what size I want, whether I want it square or portrait or landscape, and then I hit generate. And if you've created something, let's say a jungle scene with reflective pond and waterfalls, and when I've got my prompt ready, I simply hit generate and wait. Now, you can see here you get a certain number of what are called boosts per day, which means it generates it quicker. But I've run out of boosts and it actually created it quite quickly. So it's a great app to use. At different times of the day, it might go slower. Now, once you've chosen an image that you like, you simply click on the image, choose that image. It's coming up, and then I hit download, and then I can save it to my computer or to my phone. Now, in the manual, you'll see that there are a few pages there about being careful with generative art. Make sure you read those pages. Unfortunately, nothing we do online is completely safe, whether it be social media, searching the internet, watching YouTube, or using AI. Nothing is completely safe if you're not careful. So be wise and be prudent, and especially if you're using this with children and young people. So read those pages. AI is like having another team member, a graphic designer or an artist that can help you create images for Bible stories, advertising, training, creating characters, and so much more. And we've given you a manual that goes through 7 amazing principles. I'm going to give you a bit of a taste of these and then go a little bit further. And like we mentioned in the prompting chapter in part 2, you can ask your AI a 0 prompt, which means you give it very little information. So if I try what's in the manual and I just simply put a boy, what's going to happen is the AI is going to do the thinking for me. It'll be pretty random, whatever the AI thinks I want. But with little detail, the AI will choose the nationality, the age, the scene, and here is the result. A little bit different to what you'll see in the manual with exactly the same prompt. But if I give it more detail, I'll get something a little more accurate. So again, if I try the prompt that's in the manual, where I've got an Ethiopian boy who's smiling and in a space captain's uniform, standing in a spaceship control room, and there's a huge red planet ahead, and hit generate, then I'm going to get a much more detailed response closer to what I've asked for. Now, from now on, I'm going to speed up the processing time, otherwise the video is going to be too long. But you've seen in this last couple of minutes how long it takes, and it's relatively quick. That's beautiful. What about if I do an Indian girl in a futuristic science laboratory with colourful test tubes and high-tech equipment? And this time I'm going to go wide, and let's see what that does. The more detailed my prompt is, the more I can get the AI to create something that's closer to what I'm looking for. So how about this one? I'm going to go for an epic movie scene with a Middle Eastern shepherd boy on one side, and he's got a little belt sling and a small stone. And on the other side is a 3-meter mean Philistine soldier. Let's give it a go, especially like that one. That's beautiful. So there are 7 principles that help you do better prompts. You don't have to use all of them all the time, but they're very helpful to understand as you're trying to get a better image and get something that you're looking for precisely. So there, describe the subject, set the scene, define the mood and what you want it to do, the aesthetic, the style, the framing, the lighting, how realistic is it, what kind of colors. Whatever detail that you put in will help you get a better result. Let me try some of the different prompts that I've got in the manual for the story of Jesus feeding the 5,000. And we'll walk through just a couple of these and then I'll go deeper. This is Jesus and a boy with 5 loaves and 2 fish and a crowd of 5,000 men and many women and children. Now you'll see it's very different to what I got in the manual. But as you also understand, it's just gone with something quite traditional, pretty Western, and it's even got birds in there. And you're going to get a not great result if you don't put in a good prompt. So let's try something a little bit more. And I've got a few more steps in the manual, but if I want to get something that looks a bit more like a historical Jesus, I'm going to not be able to just say Jesus. I'll say a Middle Eastern looking Jesus, ordinary and not good looking. And Jesus is with a boy. Let's see how that goes. And I've also got there in 1st century Palestine, because that's what the area was called in the time of the Romans. And now I've got something that maybe looks somewhat more Middle Eastern, but it's also got buildings. It's, I don't know. Let's try. What I'm going to need to do is to be a bit cleverer. I'm going to need to add a negative prompt because I don't want any buildings on the side of Lake Galilee because it was a desolate place. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take Jesus' name out of the prompt. Obviously, images of Jesus have been made for the last 2,000 years, and AI is going to be influenced by many of the images that are on the internet, many of the images that have been made. So what if I try this? An ordinary 1st century Middle Eastern man in a dirty white robe. And then I've also added a negative prompt of no buildings. Let's see what that does. Now Isaiah 53 says, "He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him." So I don't think Jesus did look like a movie star. And let's have a look at this. Okay, that's looking a little bit better, and also the colours are more muted, and it's in a desolate place. And there's some grass, because the Bible story says that there was lots of grass, and that's what people sat down on. So you get slightly better result when you give a better prompt, and that was a helpful thing to discover. But what sort of feeling do I want in my image? So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add one of the prompts that's in the manual. You can use it. And in this case, I'm going to say that they're smiling and happy. Interesting. I'm not sure I would use these, but there you go. They're a lot happier. But what happens if it's sad? What if it's dramatic? A bit more emotion in that shot. What if I have a little bit of fun and make it asleep? Now you'll notice that every time we do this, we get a different Jesus. This is one of the challenges with AI. We will address this a little bit in the more advanced sections of the Academy, but unfortunately, it's very difficult to create consistent characters. What about the aesthetic and the style? So I could take exactly the same prompt and add a coloring sheet at the beginning of it. And I'll get a whole different type of image. But you can see here a black and white coloring sheet with thick black lines. Or I could make it more like a 3D animation, where I'm going to make it a 3D animated movie scene. And you get something beautiful that you can use in your ministry. Another technique is in the style of. So I can have a look and use some famous artist like Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo in this case. Let's see. I'm going to make it wide angle and see if I can make it a little bit like an old painting. There you go. A little bit like an oil painting. One of my favorite prompts is a children's animation in a style that is a modern one. So here are some words I love: quirky and whimsical. Fun, quirky, whimsical style in the style of a modern British children's book illustration. And one of my favorite styles is an old photographic style called a daguerreotype, one of the first processes in photography. And this one gives you something quite interesting, an old style photograph. So in the style of is fabulous. And in the manual, you'll see a lot of different possibilities there. And then also how you can ask your chatbot to give you lists of great styles to try. The next one is thinking about the framing or the angle, the composition. How do you want it to look? So in this case, I'm going to go for a high drone shot. So a camera that's high in the air. So what I might want to do is to actually just focus in on a very key part of the story. So in this case, I'm going to change my prompt, take out some of the detail. So I've got a close-up photograph of the hands of a man and a boy. And all I'm talking about is the man and the boy. So this is trying to get a close-up image of Jesus and the boy with the 5 loaves and the 2 fish. I get the 3 fish and the 4 loaves. AI can't count. Then I want to think about the lighting. What does it look like? So instead of being a daytime image, I want a nighttime image. That's all part of the lighting. Number 6 is describing the kind of tone or the color. So this time I'm going to go with a close-up, black and white, hand-drawn illustration of our image. And I've taken out the golden light because I'm going for black and white. And let's see what that gives us. So this is really about the kind of coloring style, as well as I've added an aspect of the style of what I'm looking for, but the color is important. Blue and green hand-drawn illustration if I wanted to. And the final one is the level of realism. So do you want it to be a photograph? Do you want it to be a drawing? Do you want it to be a logo? What are you trying to look for? Let's now try some things that are not in the manual. And the first is that this program is very good at creating logos. So I'm going to create a logo for a sports ministry called High Impact. It's green and black and blue and includes a soccer ball, a football. Minimalist vector art. Vector art is a graphic design term for kind of line art. There we go, not too bad. So a logo is very nice. Or this is a one that my son did because we live in a place that starts with G, and I'm going to call it Gorgeous Gorillas. And it was for a fun gorilla holding a rugby team. And their team colours were green and yellow. Gorgeous Gorillas. And again, AI is not very good at spelling, so sometimes you have to edit it. Now, actually, since we've been using this, Image Creator has added an edit function. And I can go in and make some changes to the image. I can even add some text to it. So I might be better off sometimes not adding the text and adding that later. I'm not going to go into this here. It's a very early version, but that's something to look at if you want to see if you can edit your images. AI is quite good at creating advertising. So I'm going to try and create a background image for a camp in Kenya. So a background image for a camp poster in Kenya. Kenyan young people illustrating a game of frisbee, discussion groups, friends, swimming, with colourful hand-drawn messy illustrations. You could try a background image for a PowerPoint slide. Let me put in background image with an old wooden tabletop. Another thing we use AI for a lot is to create characters. So, and we'll go into this a little bit more in the animation week of the AI Academy. But here's a young possum character with glasses and a leather jacket. It's a character design with a white background, and it's a whimsical there's that word again, 3D animated character. Very nice. And then we'll look in the animation week what you can do with this character. But it's also great for Bible characters. In fact, I did this just the other day at church with a grumpy old Pharisee in white robes with blue edges. Another nice technique when you're creating characters and Bible stories is to focus in on something in the story. This works quite well for parables. So I'm going to put this word in, anthropomorphic, which just means an object that is given human characteristics. So it's an anthropomorphic head of wheat with bright, happy eyes, a 3D animated character with a white background. So I might use this for the parable of the 4 soils, or the parable of the sower. So there are endless possibilities to try. And in fact, we've given you a whole lot of pages of different possibilities. I asked ChatGPT to count them, and there were 280. And if I just used 3 of those ideas, I would end up with 21 million different possibilities. So let me choose 3 random ideas out of the pages in the manual. I'm going to go for an ancient clay pot, in an ancient Jerusalem marketplace, in a vibrant 3D rendered animated character design. So there is plenty in the manual and from this video to get you going. And experiment, use your brain, use your creativity, and have some fun. And also in the manual, there's some amazing tips about using chatbots to help you with your prompts, and some fabulous images that Jared made of Moses.